Yes, I know. No, exactly.
How excited are you? The power is back.
I'm very excited about the Power Game. No, I mean that's what I was. Look, I was a fan of the show last year, so I'm in kind of enviable position of like a bit of fan. I get to like now participate in the show. But no, that's one of the things I thought was so cool. Is, shows like this, you have a big question: will they ever get the power back on? And they just went for it. I mean, they put the power back on the first year, and it was an arduous season-long effort. But it wasn't like, how many seasons are going to wait until they get the power back on? So I thought it was really interesting. And then, of course, it's our job now, second season, to just torque the living daylights out of that. So.
Oh, how would you do that? How would you torque the living daylights?
You'll have to see it. But the good news is we have 2 nukes at the end of last season, 2 nukes up in the air. What could that possibly affect? How could that possibly affect it? And it really does, explode the show and explodes relationships. It's really fascinating what we're doing. We're really building the show into this kind of epic saga. It's really looking at it as kind of a mythic tale of the future, and it's kind of mankind is making this ship. Something that's a ship we would never do on our own, but because of the event, because of the blackout, mankind is now being kind of shifted into this other thing, kind of forced into it. And I picture the characters in the show as kind of the heroes of the future. It's like they're the ones who will, like 100 years from when the show takes place, they'll be building statues and writing cautionary books about who these characters are. But we're watching them as they're becoming those heroes, and so we're seeing them kind of warts and all, which I think is fascinating. And it's kind of, to me, very interesting to kind of look at the group of characters, some of whom on screen, certainly in the first season, are good guys, pretty clearly good guys, very clearly bad guys, and trying to say, okay, what's the ultimate configuration? If this were this kind of mythic, epic saga, where will these characters end up? And I think it's just fascinating. It's like it was the biggest show on network TV last year, and it's getting bigger. So, I mean, success on it is emboldened everybody and given us all a terrific opportunity to just make the show even bigger. So we're excited.
What does it feel like to be back here, knowing that you came in last year and it was a cool show with a great premise, but you didn't know how successful it was going to be. Now you're back, kind of on top of the world. How does that feel?
It's cool. Like I said, I wasn't on it last year, so I was off creating 2 shows of my own.
Right.
And it was the only, even in the blender of working on these other shows, which was literally the one show, the one network show that I watched religiously, and I just really, I'm obviously a geek, and loved it, and just was fascinated by the twists and turns of the show. So, just having seen where it went last year, and having surprised me when the opportunity came up to be part of it. And I met with Eric, and he talked to me about where he was planning to take it and kind of torque the whole show, as we go forward. I was just wildly excited, and then believe me, we're coming up with some really, really crazy stuff. So, it should be cool.
What element do you think? This almost sounds like not just element, but what are you bringing to the show? I mean, what do you think you bring?
It's a good question. I've done this a lot. I've created 5 other shows, so I've got some genre cred, I'd like to think, and it's just helping to really, crank up I won't say the sci-fi of it, but the edge, of it, and we really want to make it as kind of big and bold and bad as we possibly can. And I think the stuff I've done in the past kind of qualifies me to get in there and start shoveling coal along with everybody else.
So how are you going to achieve this balance? It's a very busy show. You've got action, you've got the power out and why, the mysteries, and then trying to get all the relationships of a large cast going and clicking. So how are you approaching that balance?
It's challenging. It really is. It is a big cast. You want to have your characters together, as often as possible. But what we're doing, and Eric's very cool about, let's just go for it. In terms of kind of breaking people apart and putting very shocking teamings together. So I think you'll see, combination of characters which you would never expect, from first season. And it gives us great grist in the writers' room because there's just instant conflict among these characters. And then you throw on top of that the nuclear, two nuclear bombs going off in the continental United States, and it just kind of blows everything apart. So literally anything. And it changes the dynamic of everything. I mean, in the first season, you had the Monroe Republic, you had Georgia Federation, which are the two kind of big power bases. The show, the second season, almost immediately asked the question, what happens when that's not there anymore? Or how does that change the dynamic? We've got a very big new villain force coming in that's got a lot of levels to it. So I think that's going to shake things up, but just kind of really start to lay into place a set of bad guys that is just bigger and more awesomely bad than we had the first season. So
So basically, the bombs are going off. There's not going to be some that seems like what you're saying. There's not going to be some last minute computer intervention a la 24 or something that suddenly they're averted.
Yeah. You're going to be prepared for, and the repercussions of that, are going to be pretty awesome. So, because the bombs, if they were to go off, I'll put it that way.
Backtracking.
There's a cost. What do you say? No, but if the bombs were to go off, there's all sorts of repercussions of that. Not only just in terms of the destabilization of the world, but also there's the energy of that can mess with the environment as well. So, like I say, it's really wild. Obviously always grounded in the characters and relationships, and we've got obviously a pretty cast that services that well. It's a big idea. It's really a show, which I like about it in the first season too. Show really big ideas, really big emotion, and really big spectacle. It's a show that, like I said, it's the biggest show on network television last year in terms of ideas and emotion and spectacle. Can't beat that.
And I love the fact that I was looking at Earth last year, I'm sure one of his mottos he said was Buffy, in the sense that he wants every season to have a big bang, end it, and then introduce a new big bang. So
and you're seeing that. You're going to see that in motion. And it's really interesting. I mean, there's obviously a tease / hint of what's to come at the end of the first season, in the final moments, final images. But it's going to really surprise you. I mean, it's very quickly you start to discover that it's this whole other kind of serpentine. I mean, it's really, I view it as a saga. It really is this kind of mythic tale. We're all, which we should be. We're all fans of Game of Thrones. George Martin's a friend of mine. So I don't think you mind my saying, but we're that sort of kind of epic storytelling that kind of where characters can break apart and then come back together and team up in unusual ways. And like Game of Thrones, there will be deaths, and some really kind of shocking deaths. And in fact, early in the first episode, there's someone that, unfortunately, meets his or her.
Look at your gleeful smile.
No, because it's so cool to create a world, that allows for. Again, it's a dangerous world, and you have to be prepared to, get rid of characters.
Break up your party.
Such a good party.
Thank you.